And please know that we're coming to you live from our digital address 0993341. Just in case you don't have the Ghana Post GPS app, well, whether you're using the iOS system or the Android system, you can always go to Play Store or the App Store and please get the Ghana Post GPS. Let us know what your experience is as a user and get your digital address. But I have with me Dr. Clement Park. He's a member of parliament for Busa South, a former presidential staffer. He's an academic. When he's off parliament, I'm sure you have to go back to the classroom and teach. It's part of his training. It's in his genes. But at the end of the day, we also know that we have another colleague of his in the House, member of parliament for Kankwe Central, is what most important. But he's also a deputy minister of water and sanitation. And also a lawyer. Patrick Yabwama is here. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Unfortunately, all of us are clad in black, and we know that it's a weekend usually, but it's also because our own Kaaba will be buried tomorrow. The event will be starting from the State House 8 a.m. tomorrow, and of course it will be live on the channel. But let's start, and we know a lot has been said about all that has been going in meningitis, the EC boss, and all the things that have been said. But at the end of the day, the MPP will be having their conference tomorrow. Is it from Saturday?
Yes, from today, between today and Sunday. Okay,
the arrival is today?
Yes.
And then by tomorrow you are in full gear. Yeah. And what will you be looking at? Will you be doing basically at the conference?
Thank you very much. Good morning to your viewers and my constituents. Roland, we went to Cape Coast in August to look at the party's constitution. As a political party, we needed to take a second look at the structures of our party to ensure that we are very strong in terms of the party structure and how we want to position the party to future elections. So members of the party were given the chance, as required by the constitution of our party, to make proposals. Those proposals could not be discussed thoroughly in Cape Coast, as there were certain issues that members raised. So Congress agreed by resolution to appoint a special committee through the National Council to look at the concerns of members vis-à-vis the various proposals that had been placed before Congress. So a committee was put in place, headed by Mr. F. Fanto, the second National Vice Chair, with some lawyers of the party. The committee has been working very hard on those concerns and proposals. They've come up with their report, and those reports are contained in all the amendments that were filed or put before the party to be discussed thoroughly, so that the party will come up with a new constitutional, new constitution based on those amendments that were tabled. That's what we'll be doing in Kumasi on Sunday. Between today and Sunday, party faithfuls will arrive, lobby members of the party, discuss the pros and cons of their amendments, because we are going to be voting on every clause or every proposal that will be tabled at Congress. So if you have strong views about or for or against a certain proposal, then you have to lobby some MPs, some council members, national executive officers, constituency executives, external branches are talking about certain issues that they feel must be included or must be deleted from those proposals. This is a democratic party. We listen to the views of everybody, we factor their views, and make sure that everybody is happy. Because at the end of the day, we want total inclusion. We want people to understand that the party is there for them. We want people to belong and not feel alienated by certain provisions of the party. So, in as much as we want a very strong constitution of the party, we must also think about the concerns of the rank and file. because at the end of the day, we'll be campaigning with them. We want to be sure that everybody is involved in the process. The president has been involved. The president has been at council meetings to talk about his views on some of the proposals. He's met MPs. He's also doing what he has to do as a party member. The vice president, the majority leader, the majority caucus, everybody. That is how you fashion and put a party on the right path to victory in 2020. And I believe we've started on a good course.
Well, you're not a member of the MPP, but I know that congresses and conferences cut across both parties or all the parties. For example, I know that there are Diaspora branches. They call them the external branches. They're kicking against, for example, amendments which will indicate that they cannot contest, perhaps I believe, in-country positions, positions that would have to make them stay in the country, etc. And I know that Michael Ansan, well, he convened a conference. I think he's based in the UK. So
he's the UK chairman.
So, but they contribute a lot too. They feel they contribute a lot. I don't know what they contribute during the campaign, but I'm sure they do. At the end of the day, even they are part of the external larger diaspora and remittance group into Ghana, so they feel that they also have a lot to say in the political process of our country. What do you say to that?
Yes, Roland, let me say good morning to you. Soliwa, Solinalo.
Solinalo.
The Pussy Busamina.
In
any case, I think it is only fair that we acknowledge the fact that, you know, we are in mourning.
Yes.
And especially because your late colleague and our vandal colleague, you know, will be laid to rest tomorrow.
Yes.
So to honor him, we certainly felt that it was necessary that we publicly displayed our affiliation with him. Because, you know, Commonwealth, we've suffered a number of tragedies of late, the recent one being the unfortunate stabbing
I hear these days
old vandal.
The old vandals, they've been stabbing each other.
No, not
that's
old vandals
not
stabbing each other. In fact, the guy who committed the crime is not actually an old vandal.
Okay.
But he sought to be part of us. And I think along the line there was a
He loved the fraternity.
Well, he did, but we didn't expect him to then take the life of one of the sons of Father Bacchus. But that is another matter that...
one of the sons of Father Bacchus.
Oh, yes. It's our patron saint of Commonwealth. You know, every group usually has a patron saint.
Yeah, every fraternity.
Notice I didn't say a god, I said a patron saint.
Yes, please.
So there's a difference between the two. But in any case,
were you a deputy vandal yourself?
Yes, actually I was a deputy chief vandal, 1994, 95.
All right.
Egbert Fabel was the chief.
It was during his time.
It was me and Egbert. We steered the affairs of the great vandal city successfully.
I see.
And I believe that has also translated into who we have become. So that is an example of how leadership, you know, leadership can build over time. So anyone who has gone through Commonwealth, we always say is a potential leader by default.
Right.
Your ability to survive in the hall alone,
it's good enough for you to
enough training.
adopt certain traits.
Yeah, to survive.
Well, I have my lead producer, Derek Ekosam, an old vandal.
Yes.
A
younger old vandal.
Yeah, I can see that trait. He doesn't respect. He's very disrespectful.
No. I think you are saying the opposite. Derek, I trained him at Radio University. He was one of my
He's very disrespectful, derogatory.
He's actually the exact opposite. I know him.
Derek is a gentleman. It's a true
You know he's just being mischievous.
Don't mind.
All right,
anyway,
so continue.
But let's put that aside. Now to the topic of the MPP going for their, is it delegates conference?
No, yes, it's a conference,
Yes,
they don't do Congress. Congress is for communist-related.
Very well, that will be asked then in Kumasi beginning tomorrow. It is perfectly normal in the life of every institution, particularly political parties and organizations. You have timelines and you take decisions, and then sometimes there's a need to review them, to amend them. Well and good to enhance your fortunes and to make sure that you continue to be relevant for the purpose for which you are in existence. So that is understandable.
Definitely.
But of course, as my colleague MP Boaman narrated, certainly it's not just going to be pomp and pageantry. there's going to be serious work to be done. There will be proposals to amend the party's constitution. There are some groups in the party or some individuals who may feel that by changing those rules, it is going to impact them negatively. And of course, there will be others who would also want to see the rules change because they believe that with the changes in the rules or the amendments, it is going to enhance their fortune. So definitely, there will be some horse trading going on to try and see how it can be done in a way that would not shortchange or deny any other party member their rights. And I think that is where the issue of the diaspora comes in. I had the chance to live and school abroad, and I used to come down for our NDC congresses.
You were based in?
I was based in Canada.
Okay.
And I can tell you that definitely the diaspora groups on both sides have always tended to believe that they get the short end of the stick. I mean, when I was in the diaspora, I had the same feeling. I'm just being honest. And I'm not surprised that the MPP diaspora group seem to be raising some issues.
And is it for good reason?
And they contribute. That's in terms of the contribution to the well-being of the two dominant political parties in Ghana, we all know that the diaspora groups play a role, not only through their personal contributions in terms of supporting party activity, but they organize big fundraising events. They are also able to liaise with non-profit organizations and other benevolent institutions to make donations in kind. And you know, within the context of the Ghanaian political system, in-kind donations are also very useful in terms of the ground game. So they have every reason to try to demand that they get their pound of flesh within the context of the rearrangement. And I think the thrust of their issue, as far as my understanding is concerned, is that they feel that the changes that are being proposed would prevent them from offering themselves to contest certain positions. And they are claiming that would not be fair.
And the changes herein are those that will require that certain, prior to you contesting, you need some number of years in town or in country or perhaps out of or within a certain jurisdiction.
That is right, because but those are just the basic regulations. I mean, even for us to have the chance to contest, whether it is a primary, every party has its rules, but at least you must be a registered member, voter at that particular polling station, and then you must have lived there and have an address in that particular. So all of these are basic requirements, and I think that perhaps we need to take a second look, given the fact that, you know, increasingly through technology and globalization, the physical distance has been narrowed by the presence and use of technology and the internet. It may not be bad for us to rethink some of these requirements and see how we can, you know, tweak them to allow for our diaspora branches to be able to play an active role. And you are right. I mean, the diaspora community, not just MPP or NDC, contributes a lot. In 2016 alone, I think the total contribution from the Ghanaian diaspora in terms of remittances was more than both donor funds and total revenue collected. It was about $2 billion.
Yes.
So that tells you.
On the books, it's 2.5 billion.
Very well. So that tells you how much they contribute. And it's not just even in physical resources, as I say. They are able to attract and bring investors. Some of them even come home to invest. So the role of the diaspora community in helping to build this country, both in terms of resources and even the human capital, cannot be denied. But you see, the challenges that are going to happen, we are already beginning to see the telltale signs. You know, the recent announcement that CEOs and other party functionaries would have to resign their positions, DCEs will have to resign their positions 3 years before they are eligible.
CEOs were not included.
Contest.
It is our man
To contest.
who said that CEOs should also be roped in.
I think my understanding is that
you came here and advocated.
Because the CEO...
Last 2 weeks.
The CEO's appointment is not that different.
What the announcement from JB said was those who are holding those MMDCEs positions.
Yes, but the point I'm making is that they are complaining. A lot of them are complaining. But whether they will have an avenue...
But they do things to undermine the MPs. Because I've had friends who are members of parliament, and sometimes you go and sometimes they
I agree. I mean, we know it has been the bane of the Fourth Republic, and almost every political party, win or lose power, has been a victim of this this occurrence. And I mean, I know on authority that even before, our NDC primaries, which are contested, there was a lot of discourse within the party on this particular issue. There was a heated debate about this issue. I remember, those who were defending the position that, MMDCEs should not be prevented from contesting, had made the case that if that is the case, then we should rope in all government appointees.
Like you.
Even myself at the time as a presidential
Because
staffer,
you were using your office to lobby things.
As a presidential staffer.
So you are
certainly
you are a perpetrator.
They had felt that
you are a perpetrator.
If we were to do that, like Boama has also suggested, then we should stretch the envelope to cover all appointees. Because truly, there is no point in saying that a sitting DC should not contest a sitting MP, and yet you are allowing a sitting CEO to contest a sitting MP. I mean, if we are looking at the weight in terms of balance, clearly, the CEO of a state agency...
But a CEO of a state agency...
Let's get some clarity here. It's not about you not contesting an MP. Let's have this clear. The MPs are not asking for protection. No.
Actually, the MPs are not
What they are saying is that if you want to, then do resign. 3 years.
Come and join us in the bandwagon.
Come and join the fray. Let's all work in the constituency.
Go and lobby together.
Don't be sitting in the district as DCE when the MP is in parliament trying to push through government programs. Then you'll be going around commissioning, undermining, talking to party people as the face of the constituency.
No, and Boama is perfectly right.
Most of them are divided. They have a divided attention when they come to the floor, because they'll be receiving calls. This is doing that. This is saying school feeding. This one is saying what. That is not what the president wants MPs to be doing for him on the floor.
I think it's in order.
On the floor.
It's in order.
It's not about protection.
It's something that I think even those practicing media acknowledge, because usually during an election year, it's a free-for-all. The media goes into the constituencies, go and find out things, and they said the DC is here. And sometimes they even call you, Charlie, I have an ambition. They even tell you have friends. And we've even had in the current parliament those who have been MMDCEs, and now they are MPs. So we know what they did, but the thing is that
what they did to undermine and
but at the end of the day,
that's the other side. Now people are saying, okay, you did this and got in.
And
no,
so
but,
then let me also
but at some point, you see, at the end of the day, something happens because it disrupts the party.
Correct.
The focus of the party. And the media will have to. Then the media thrives on this negative news.
You see, the fact is, if NDC went through this and lost the elections, and we know that it affected them
greatly,
we must.
It affected MPP in 2008.
2008.
But you see, there is a
some
component
running independent,
yes,
and we lose in those seats.
Yes.
There's a component I want to add, which is also indeed to complement, the general agreement. While MPs are busy working, and by and large, then become the leaders of the party in their constituencies, which also means that they are largely funding party activities.
Everything.
Especially when you are in opposition. The potentials who are seeking to come and contest you, they are piling up their resources. Whilst you are spending, going to the funerals, going to the festival, going to the adorings, sponsoring students, they are piling their resources. So you then do all of this work. And then when the time comes, the resources that they have piled, whilst you were expending your resources to keep the machinery alive and then to oil it, they then come and contest you. So in some ways, anyway, there is a case to be made.
Well, let's move on. But I also have to caution you, though. The exclusion doesn't include where they don't have seats.
Is that so? It's blanket.
What about that? No, it's not blanket. It doesn't include where they don't have seats.
Oh, so it's only where they have seats?
Yeah, where they have seats.
Okay,
so for example, you have a seat. So
yes, I do.
Your DCE can contest you.
No, I don't have a problem.
It's an orphan constituency.
Yeah, it's an orphan. But that is perfectly allowed.
So the DC is there
undermining you. He can undermine me because he's not from my party. If it is opposite, it is not as bad. You understand?
No crapper.
Apaka spoken good truth.
So I think that is a good proposal.
It's a Commonwealth
It's a good proposal.
It's
a good proposal, and we can all look at it.
I think the NDC will adopt it. So.
No, we were already discussing it, as I said.
Oh.
We were discussing it.
Oh.
I just told you.
When was that?
I told you that before the 2016 primaries, we were discussing it.
Oh, okay.
It came up. So it's not, that tells you that it is a matter that has come to the
And the thing is that usually when you are in
party.
power and you are contesting for the, let's say, especially a second term, you are afraid to push through some of these reforms because it could also backfire within the party. But let's seize our attention to look at some of the ongoing issues about the outbreak of meningitis. We had a case of a strain of is it H1N1?
That's right.
So swine flu in Kumaka, and then the rest of the cases have been meningitis outbreaks in various schools. And even now, if there's any death unrelated, it's somehow brought in or related. But let me start with you, and it's a concern for everybody, MPs alike, and the good thing is that it's not being politicized, so that's the best thing about it.
Thank you very much.
And I know APAC will not politicize it this morning.
I know definitely he won't, because
we'll see.
I read a professional statement from the Ghana Medical Association, and I must commend them, Dr. Frank Ankobia and Dr. Titus Bayo. They went through and stated certain issues clearly. You see, we have the Public Health Act of 2012, Act 851, that regulates our public health space. And those issues are within the public health and the Ghana Health Services ambit. When this issue broke out, government took certain steps. Whether belated or not, government has done its part. The statement mentioned two things. One, that it is about time that we set up two viral infection disease centers in two parts of the country, the northern part and the southern part. Two, that politicians must stay away from making unprofessional statements on public health issues, which I agree with. They also caution the media. Oftentimes, when such issues break out, politicians and the uninformed, without any medical or supporting basis, go out there to attribute blames and try to score cheap political points. These are matters of life. The swine flu issue, when you look at the data available from 2010 up to 2017, has taken a lot of lives. Yes, but we must leave this prevention and other public education and what have you to the public health workers, including the doctors, to handle. The vaccines, thank God, will be in this country this weekend. When we are able to set up these very important emergency response centers within the northern belt and the southern belt, within the shortest possible time, because this swine flu issue has been with us since 2010, and we ought to have done something seriously about it. Health matters must be decoupled from political discussions, because health issues know no politician or no political party. So let's leave this issue for the health professionals to handle. I think they also cautioned and reprimanded the president for going there without taking adequate measures. It's good, because if you look at Section 1 of the Act, it gives the Minister of Health the power through an executive instrument to delineate certain zones as emergency areas, and also to take certain steps to ensure that the disease does not spread to other parts of the country, which I believe the minister came to Parliament, gave an overview of the problem and what the Ministry of Health was doing to resolve that matter. I commend him for that. Honorable Muntaka has been very vocal about this. Kumasi Academy is in his constituency. He made a statement, members contributed. He's been very passionate about this. I commend him. The President of the Republic took time off to go to the school. I think the Minister of Education, the Vice President, the chiefs, Santini, and many prominent people have spoken about this issue. Question is, what are we doing to prevent future occurrences? That is the prescription that the Ghana Medical Association has offered. And government, I believe, will take the necessary steps to ensure that we contain such issues when they break out.
First of all, I think we must all agree that it is a worrisome development. And indeed, as Boama has said, I would agree with him on the fact that when it comes to matters to do with health and our well-being, you know, the germs or the bacteria or whatever microbes, you know, can lead to the breakdown of our physiology in terms of our health. Certainly will not discriminate. I am pretty sure that the students who have lost their lives as a result of this outbreak, which government says is now under control, were not the walls of one political party or the other. So within that context, I agree. But you see, you know, it is very difficult to have a conversation of this nature without looking at where there have been shortcomings. I mean, in terms of the specific case of the Kumasi Academy, this is the second bout of the outbreak. Earlier this year, there was a situation there that caused some students to lose their lives. The question is, what were the authorities doing between then and the second outbreak? Clearly, somebody either was sleeping on the job.
Somebody slept on the job.
Slept on the job, took things for granted, or quite simply, it was felt that, you know, the situation would not reoccur. And perhaps because the research had not been done to identify the cause or to diagnose the reason why the students who
I think it was
passed on.
They said they knew it was
so
meningitis.
Then what yeah, they said meningitis, but now we are saying from the report so far that it's N1H1.
No, that's
right.
For particularly or peculiar to Kumaka.
Yes, in that
yes.
particular situation. Now look at when the outbreak occurred and the number of people who may have been exposed to this, and the fact that as we sit, the vaccine is not still available. The vaccine is still coming. I mean, we should give thanks and praises to the good Lord for his abundance of mercy. Can you imagine what could have happened? Because this is a rather contagious,
to the schools.
Yes, it's a rather contagious, you know, type of illness. And it still worries me because we have a very poor tracking system. I mean, as you and I said, do you truly think if we call Ghana Health Services, even the Ashanti Regional Directorate, to tell us how many people have entered and exited
that's cool.
the domain where this occurrence erupted? They will be able to tell, to be able to track them to where they are. So we have to be in readiness because the incubatory period of this is also a factor. Just because we are not hearing, you know, new cases does not mean that it is under total control. So yes, we still must stop the politics because we have a Minister of Health, we have a Director of Ghana Health Services, we have their regional offices and components. So somebody has to take the blame for the delay. But look, generally, you see that when you mentioned, you talked about meningitis and this school, that school, this school, and when we say that this is as a result of congestion, they say we are trying to do politics.
And that's where the politics comes in.
But this is not politics. It's just simple, commonsensical arguments. If you put 50 students in the room that used to contain 20 students, quite clearly, you can expect that there will be challenges. And this is what is happening. Yes, free senior high school, well and dandy, we all agree, but we have always argued
it looks
that
like from your side of the political divide
did not go into the implementation.
It looks like from your side of the political divide, there's a public health issue, free SHS.
Yes.
If
but it is. There's a connection.
If an impress or let's say a disbursement is supposed to be made but late in going or being allocated, free SHS because funding for free SHS.
No,
or funding
this
has
is a
gone
specific argument that I am making.
I know,
and it is there for everyone to see.
Right,
I mean,
right.
he fortunately is the deputy minister for
How
water
is
and sanitation.
congestion contributing to this?
It does, because when you put so many people in a confined space, first of all, if there is one individual who has a type of illness that is contagious, and yet that person may have developed some type of immunity to it, it may not affect that person the way it would affect somebody else whose system is not familiar with that type of illness. So by confining people that many in one space, definitely the possibility of infectious diseases spreading is usually very high. Now there are other diseases too that thrive in warm and humid environments. And when you put that many people in a confined environment, which is less ventilated, quite clearly, I mean, meningitis, we all know the causal factors. So yes, although these illnesses in the past, we know they are with us, but the issue of congestion has actually made it easier for the explosion that we are seeing. And this is not just confined to one senior high school. And what worries me is that in terms of the Northern Belt, we are not even in the warm season yet. And this is why I am disappointed by the Minister for Education's lame defense that the reason why students in the northern part of the country are sleeping in corridors and in hallways was because it was a hot season. Anyone who knows the geography of Ghana.
That's what the minister
Yes, that is what he said. I had to challenge it on Asempa.
Live?
Yes, I listened to him. I even was called in. And he still repeated it somewhere else. This is actually the cold season. If you want the hot season in the northern belt, it usually is towards the build-up to the early rains. So getting to the end of February, March, April is like the hottest. And then May, the first rains fall. So the reason why the students are lying on the verandas and in the corridors is simply because there is no space. And let's just admit it and move on. But try to rationalize students sleeping outside in the cold season.
We've never had students sleep on the corridors before.
Not at this time of the year. I've gone to school my whole life in the northern part of the country.
That time,
Form 1 to Form 5.
we didn't have the number of students in secondary schools like that.
Certainly not.
Times have changed.
As Azant Law House Prefect in Sandema Sectec, I mean, my dorm, we didn't have more than 10 students each.
But that was those times.
That is what I am saying.
That's the colonial period.
But that is the more reason why.
That was the colonial.
But that is the more reason why.
Colonial
That is the more reason why we should have anticipated.
Breakfast and
we should have anticipated
dinner and dessert.
That by opening the floodgates for more students to get an education, the numbers would increase. So we had to put in the structures.
We needed a foresight and make sure that we're ready.
And now we are losing lives.
Oh no!
Do you think that if parents were to be asked to pay for their wards who have died to be alive, they won't pay? I mean, you say it's free, and I send my ward to go and die as a result of
that is
a congested room.
If the congestion is the cause of.
But there is a correlative factor.
I think the correlative factor is being impugned by your side of the political.
To relate deaths to some of these factors.
Or some.
It
could be some of the causative factors.
Free senior high school education. We all knew we're going to encounter some challenges because of
So it means that we're unprepared then.
Government has taken the necessary steps through the Ministry of Education to expand some of these facilities to contain the numbers.
Well, clearly maybe it's now being done.
But that's going to be in the future.
But
maybe clearly it's now being done.
If you go through the newspapers every
the Ghana Health Service
week year on, you see or find adverts in the papers.
So it's now being done.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree that efforts are being made.
Something is being
but what
done.
the Ghana Health Service has a head in charge of disease and surveillance.
Those processes, you'll be the same person who say, these people campaign on soul sourcing and what have you. So
but are you still not soul sourcing?
Oh,
Mr. Yabuama, the Ghana Health Service has a unit head of disease and surveillance. It's called Dr. Franklin Esiedu-Bequin. He's been the one speaking on many of these issues. He told Evans Mensah on Joy FM's Top Story, it was just midweek, that the overcrowded nature of classrooms and dormitories in many of the schools posed a challenge to the students.
I agree with him.
You agree?
He's an expert.
All right.
He knows how easily you can transfer.
This one, you and I understand it. You don't have to be an expert to understand this issue. This one, dear.
He's speaking from a professional standpoint. That overcrowding is part or could be
a factor.
Because, for example, his quote, he says clearly the numbers in the classrooms and dormitories brings about a challenge.
So it's very easy to transmit if there is overcrowding in the dormitories and the classrooms. Yes, I agree with him. And what are we doing? We are expanding those facilities to reduce the overcrowding.
You are now putting out tenders. Because this is where soul sourcing is even more important. You're afraid you'll be accused by your political,
we have to do the right thing.
opponent.
And it's being done
students
rapidly and in a good measure in accordance with the law. Because if we don't do that, people will take advantage and overprice and do whatever is not necessary. But I'm telling you that the Ministry of Education has taken the necessary steps to ensure that the facilities needed to reduce the overcrowding in the schools and the dormitories, dining halls, and what have you, has been done.
Very well.
Roland,
yes, sir.
I have a problem with that.
Rest assured.
Assurance is good. But look at the gestation period of putting up a fiscal structure like a dormitory. I mean, it's not something that is just going to happen in 2 months.
Swine flu, I told you, started in 2010.
Yes.
No, I'm not.
Swine flu has been with us.
I'm not arguing.
Meningitis has always been with us.
I'm not arguing.
Sit here and pretend
but shouldn't we?
Someone would have said then last year you should have put in place.
Shouldn't we address? Yeah, we were building schools. Some of them did schools and they have transferred.
Where are the surveillance units?
They have put in borders, for example.
Why the surveillance units in the schools?
And you are
since
sanitation.
2010 to 2017.
Sanitation. The
government comes into power.
The next problem is going to be cholera.
To resolve all those things that
okay, now we know. So we have to put in place the measures, and that's what will be done now. That's okay.
The gestation period of putting up fiscal structures certainly means that we are going to have this challenge for some time to come.
Oh,
yes,
really?
Because
for some time to come.
Yes, you know how long it takes to put up a dormitory,
to
put up a dining hall.
8 good years.
That is why we said a gradualist approach. You said you wanted to do it wholesale,
and we are doing it.
These are the challenges,
and we are doing it.
We are putting in place the dormitories, building the dining halls, and all of that. You came and you said, "Oh, we can do it at once."
Government is here to resolve challenges,
and in spite of everything that we have done, look at the challenge.
We are doing it.
So if we hadn't done anything, which means the current challenges would have even been exacerbated.
Because we are not ambitious.
So give us some credit.
We are ambitious. We are going to take
ambitious to rush a program that will endanger the lives of the people who are supposed to benefit.
All those challenges, and we are doing it.
This ambition,
and you see that, and you found it in the budget.
Look,
that the government is serious.
In the immediate,
government has allocated 1.2 billion
in the overcongested
to resolve this challenge.
All right.
They can reduce the congestion.
The daily guide is
1.2 billion to resolve these challenges.
In the school.
It's in the budget, and he knows it.
They should put up
the daily guide has on the front page the lawyer representing. It says suspend EC boss. The lawyer representing some aggrieved staff of the Electoral Commission. His name has been given as Maxwell Opoku-Agyeman. Is saying has petitioned. Oh, okay. Who represented some aggrieved workers or staff of the Electoral Commission and petitioned President for the removal of the chairperson of Charlotte has asked President Akufo-Addo to suspend the EC boss. And the suspension, which is the spirit of Article 146(10)(b) of the 1992 Constitution, according to lawyer Maxwell Opoku-Agyeman, is to pave way for the final determination of the matter by the committee established by the Chief Justice. I guess what we have to ask ourselves is, Mr. Park, can I start with you?
Yes, please.
How does that, you know, the Chief Justice has set up the committee. The committee is doing its work, supervised by the Chief Justice. But the lawyer is saying there could be interferences.
Yeah, I have followed with great interest the developments around the petition that went to the President, which he subsequently referred, rightly so, as per the dictates of the supreme law of the land to the Chief Justice. I've also heard the lawyer a number of times on different media networks. But I would have thought that in terms of the processes and procedure, whilst some of us still have some reservations about the way it has gone, that he at least should be content with where his petition has reached. Because several people who say they have seen it or have read it online truly, in their own pronouncements, they didn't even expect that the presidency would have seen it worthwhile to refer this petition to the Chief Justice. So the fact that indeed, you know, his petition has caught the eye of the president and it has been referred and it is being worked on, I would have thought that he should give room to the processes to unfold. But you see, there are bigger issues around this whole petition and the way the process has unfolded so far.
Which are?
And I think that which are rightly put in the public domain by the letters written by Madame Charlotte Osei, to the effect that she didn't have the opportunity, and in fact, I think it's her right, to see the actual petition in its own word, form, and letter. And I think that in itself, it generates some level of unfairness, because, you know, if somebody is accused of engaging in an act of malfeasance or whatever, you know, the petitioners are seeking to claim, it is only fair that that person is giving that petition to look at and study it as part of your right to defend yourself, your reputation, and your honor. So how is it that, you know, the committee put together by the Chief Justice commenced sitting, and then Madame Charlotte Osei and her two other colleagues were invited, and yet we hear that she didn't have the chance to see the petition? I think,
but is it not logical that if you don't have if you don't have the petition, you just apply for it through the appropriate body? Why do we have to?
But this is not the first time that, you know, this type of process has been used in this country. I mean, you remember when we were in power, you know, there were petitions that came against other personalities also occupying leadership positions in constitutionally created institutions. And the process was very straightforward. You let the person who the petition has been brought against have access to the petition. I mean, is it fair? Let's face it, is it fair? You know, what is the motive? Why did they have to write to and summarize the content of the petition to her? Why don't you just give it to her to look at? What is the holdback? So it is already beginning to feel, at least in the public domain and discourse, that there's a serious level of injustice that has already been done
in the public domain.
Yes. I mean, the discourse everywhere is that the system has not been fair to her because she had the right to see the petition and she didn't see it. I mean, they didn't have to wait for her to request it. I mean, what happened to the law of natural justice? I mean, he's a lawyer. He will tell you it's a very important principle. But let's see the way it goes. But I think that the lawyer, he needs to tone down, if for nothing at all. His petition has been referred to the right place for it to be looked at. And the response will come. The outcome will be there for all of us to see. And he shouldn't try to go beyond, you know, what, you know, the opportunities given to him are. Is there another reason why he's pushing so aggressively? I mean, that is a question I'm going to leave to the imagination of Ghanaians.
I don't want my friend to define the public domain to be the NDC domain.
That's not what I said. I mean, there are a lot of people who are not NDC who have spoken
even
out.
if it's NDC domain, they're still from part of the public.
Yeah, NDC is a very important
political
party.
You know, the NDC and its presidential candidates, especially the president, had over 4 million votes.
NDC is a very important political party.
All right.
And they will be very important in opposition.
Very well.
Except that. Roland.
Yes, sir.
I've heard a General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, come out to portray that this present government was behind this action. Dr. Park, my colleague Amaliba, Koku, my friend, a lot of NDC activists are at the forefront. But Madame Charlotte Osei has legal counsel in the person of a competent practitioner called Thaddeus Sori, who is representing her. So they cannot be crying more than the bereaved.
Have we cried?
Sule, Amadou Sule.
The bereaved is crying. It's petition.
Amadou, I said
I want to see the petition myself.
To be crying more than the bereaved. Amadou Sule is also a commissioner. He used to train the National Democratic Congress, run them through electoral processes. Georgina Opoku-Amankwa.
Amadou Sule used to do that from the commission, right?
Roland, why aren't they talking on their behalf as well? 2, you read the petition or the request from my lecturer, Max Opoku-Agyeman, a very tough nut.
You mean to say a controversial nut?
I say it's a very tough nut.
Very well.
Training in Sabah Hall.
I see. I now get it.
And he's asking the president to suspend. You see, the president is a public official, and he's also guided by the provisions of the Constitution. Article 296 enjoins him to be fair in the performance of his duties. So that provision that my lecturer referred to, Article 14610, reads, with your permission, that where a petition has been referred to a committee under this article by the president, you know that the president has made a referral to the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice has set up a committee to look at it. In the case of the Chief Justice acting in accordance with the Council of State, that is, if it comes to the removal of the Chief Justice, by a warrant signed by him, that's the president, suspend the Chief Justice. B, in the case of any other justice of a superior court or of a chairman of a tribunal acting in accordance with the advice of the Judicial Council, suspend the justice or the chairman of a regional tribunal. C, the president may at any time revoke a suspension under this article. So you saw that the word may was used. The EC boss was not referred to, but the terms and conditions of the EC boss is at par with the Justice of the Court of Appeal. That is why my lecturer is referring to this provision. But this provision also read in sync with Article 296 puts the president under a certain cover to be fair candidate in the application of his powers as a public official. So it leaves the president with a discretionary power, and I believe, in my humble opinion, that this president will not, I believe, it's my belief, will not trigger this provision because he would want to ensure that there is fairness in the application of all the processes leading to the petition, the investigation by the Chief Justice, the referral he made to the Chief Justice, the committee that the Chief Justice has set up. He wouldn't want to prejudice any of the findings, let alone to suspend the EC. Because, you see, there is that perception that the MPP is or was against the EC boss.
That is it
it's not true. We won a tough election with Madam Charlotte Osei as the chair of the EC, with Amadou Sule as the deputy, with Madam Opoku-Amankwa as a commissioner. We are not afraid of any of them being at the helm of the EC. We are sure that if the right processes are put in place by this independent constitutional body, the NPP will win every election in this country. It has always been our hope that the legal processes, transparency, and everything that goes with election must be done in accordance with law to give each player a level playing field. That has always been the argument of the New Patriotic Party.
And that's what the president did.
And I'm telling you that the president will not muddy the waters, will ensure that the judicial processes as set out under the Constitution is followed, and he will follow the letter and spirit of every recommendation that comes back to him in accordance with the Constitution.
Mr. Park, why is it that there seem to be the undertones in the commentary and also the concerns being raised by your side of the political divide and other commentators that perhaps there have been some machinations behind by the MPP or related groups behind the petition in itself, and what the petition is coming from is a class action by some workers of the commission, and thereafter the process is following through.
Yes,
because the lawyer himself is even not a member of the MPP, and even if he was.
Well, we mean in political dynamics, a lot of the time surrogates can be more effective than those in the front line. It depends on who is orchestrating the act and who is promoting it. And you see, our case is very clear and simple. And you remember when Honorable Buama was speaking, he said we were crying more than the bereaved, trying to suggest that we may be trying to be the public relations officers for Madame Charlotte Osei. But you see, we do this not because of her person, but because of the circumstances surrounding how the MPP reacted when her name was announced, even before she took office.
How did they react?
They came out clearly to try and challenge, not as a party though, individual members of the party. And that is why we have to emphasize, just because individual members of our party have expressed their opinions, does not mean that that is the official position of the party. But I remember fully well that when she was mentioned,
important state actors, especially the General Secretary of the National Democratic
individual
Congress.
members of the MPP came out guns blazing, making all kinds of claims and attributions. I mean, some even use language that I am, even as a vandal, I am constrained to use. You know, suggesting that the position was offered to her by virtue of some type of, you know what I'm trying to say, but I don't want to say that. And then the attacks on her continued, threats were made. I mean, people vowed that they will make sure that she doesn't occupy this position should they get the opportunity. So when you talk like that, when you have leading members of a political party speaking like that about somebody, and then that party then wins power, and then you begin to... Kennedy Japan said it severally, Kofi Juma severally, Nana Obri Boahins. I mean, the list is long. The list is long. The accusations made by recognized, known leading members of the MPP against Madame Charlotte Osei before even the 2016 election. It's public record. You just Google her name and you would see. So if you have all of this history, and then that political party then goes on to win power, and then you have these developments towards removing her, I mean, logically, you can weave a narrative. And I heard some of them. Even as this committee is hearing what is going on, they are still not sympathetic to Madame Charlotte Osei at all. They seem not to have the ability to overcome whatever their original suspicions against her were. And I don't think it is fair. Let her do her job. If this woman was somebody who was there to do the bidding of our party, certainly we should be in power. So in terms of her neutrality and her independence, it is crystal clear that she has conducted herself professionally. She continues to acquit herself the way we all expect her to. And so let's let the processes unfold. We will continue to have our suspicions, but our suspicions would be dispelled based on
what they have come,
what they do, and how they also conduct themselves going forward.
Same matter. I thought we had...
No, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done with it, yes.
That
So we're
is
done
all.
with the discussions for the morning.
Oh, so I didn't get to announce the Fiok Festival.
Okay.
The people,
Go ahead,
the
then.
chiefs and people of the Busa traditional area.
Go ahead.
In the Great Sandma,
Go ahead.
our traditional capital, 22nd of this month, is the war dance, where we demonstrate our bravery, how we brought down 2 slave raiders, Babatu and Samori, whose tomb is actually in my village of Doninga. So you are invited to come.
The National Chief
come
Imam is having his annual Maulidi.
Who?
The National
Maulidi.
Chief Imam. Sheikh Dr. Nuhu Usmanu Sharabutu is having his annual Maulidi this weekend at New Fadama in my constituency. I wish him well. I wish the...
Will you be there?
I will be there.
That'll be on Sunday?
Saturday. I've always attended. It's going to be a very big...
You won't be at the conference?
I'll be there.
You'll do both?
We wear a lot of hats. So I wish him well. I wish the entire Muslim community well. It's a very important activity, and I wish Sheikh the very best. Thank you very much.
Roland.
All right, so...
You to say Jan.
All right, so we have we've had in the studio Patrick Yabuama, Member of Parliament for Kankwe Central, but also a Deputy Minister for Water and Sanitation, and then also a former presidential staffer. Of course, if we had all these things extending to the NDC, we wouldn't have been able to contest the seats, but it's good now.
Well,
Dr.
You have been taking a few digs at me lately.
In charge of port operations.
No.
Yeah.
I was speaking.
He was closing down warehouses and doing all that.
And taking money for the state.
Okay, that one. All right, and Dr. Clement Apak is a Member of Parliament for Busa.
South.
I used to interview him back in the day at the University of Ghana, though. So before he became a presidential staffer, because make sure you are not obedient presidential staffer. No name MP.
You abandoned me.
The transition became, because when you're in your office, when we call you, you didn't pick.
You were also at TV3 and you jumped here. So
yeah,
you've
but
also
I mean,
transitioned.
yes, I did transition, but I was always picking my calls.
I
was always picking my calls. But you were not picking your calls. But that's by the way. Now he picks calls. It's in opposition. It's good. So we'll pick calls.
Very well.
But Patrick Yabuama is one person who picks calls, though. But it's because Patrick is just Patrick. Patrick is playing.